don't need to be perfect. I just want it to feel right.
Maybe everything that dies someday comes back.
Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere is directed by Scott Cooper with a screenplay by Scott Cooper. The film stars Jeremy Allen White, Jeremy Strong, Paul Walter Hauser, Stephen Graham, and Odessa Young. On the cusp of global superstardom, New Jersey rocker Bruce Springsteen struggles to reconcile the pressures of success with the ghosts of his past as he records the album Nebraska in the early 1980s. Bruce Springsteen, aka The Boss, is one of the most entertaining and beloved musicians of his time. Ever since the mid to late 70s, this man has been giving us a lot of music that people can still remember and get lost in with regards to its messaging and how much that Bruce Springsteen really speaks to a lot of working class Americans, because he himself comes from that background as a blue collar guy, and everyone just loves the fact that this is a guy who, even though he is a very talented musician, he is somebody who's speaking from experience with regards to the hardships and the struggles of which he has had to face in his life, whether it be through his childhood or just growing up in New Jersey, and how much that has really affected him. To this day, at just 76 years old, him along with his E Street Band are still performing. They are still going out there playing the hits that he is known for, and people love him for that. As with any famous figure, though, there comes the biopic, or in this case, music biopic. Now, if we all know this, and we all do, this genre keeps on doing the same old song and dance. No matter what movie it is, no matter what figure it is about, whether it be about a famous just person or musician or band, regardless, I feel like a lot of movies in this genre just tend to just do the same old thing and just rinse and repeat no matter what. Nothing changes up. There's probably like a few movies that stand out on their own, either just being good or actually trying to be a little bit different, but for the most part, it is just the same old regurgitated formula over and over again that just continues to plague this genre. For this one in particular, Scott Cooper decided to take a more somber and personal take with Springsteen and his creation of the Nebraska album, which came out before his album Born in the USA, which launched him to superstardom. So this was an album that Bruce was really personal on with regards to what he wanted it to sound and what he wanted it to feel. I was hoping to enjoy a music biopic without having to feel annoyed or lied to, and let's face it, a lot of movies that tend to just be based on like true stories or true figures, they're not always going to tell us 100% the truth. Okay, that's not even a thought in anybody's mind to think that they are actually going to tell us everything that actually did happen, because you know good and goddamn well that is not the case. Upon watching it, and I actually got to see this with my parents, so that was kind of cool to have the two of them just in a theater together, I was pleasantly surprised. I was taken aback by what this movie wanted to be and appreciate the more layered back approach than most glossy and bland biopics tend to be. Whether you think of like a lot of movies of that caliber of like Bohemian Rhapsody or Elvis, those movies tend to be very glossy and very shiny produced movies that just want to focus on just like the highlight moments, but not really strip down like what makes Queen or even Elvis that really interesting of characters. So when it comes to a movie like this, which of course this is based off of a nonfiction book by the same name, I was really happy to see that Scott Cooper really gave me something that really spoke to what Bruce Springsteen had to go through before his superstardom, and just how much his life really was a battle with himself and who he was trying to prove to people. Though there were a few hiccups along the way, I can tell you now, here are my positives. The performances are excellent. Jeremy Allen White is quiet and terrific as Bruce Springsteen, and it allows for White to convey the struggles with depression that Bruce Springsteen was obviously going through, that he was haunted with regards to his childhood, how his relationship with his father was. And Alan White really embodies Bruce. He embodies him in the sense of not just really his singing, because of course there are moments where he does sing, and of course he sings just like how Bruce was, and even some of his stage movements or even his walk, but just the way in which he took an approach to where he wanted to feel as if Bruce was somebody who you can talk to and really enjoy their company, because you know how much that they are always going to make something lively out of all the enjoyment of music, but just really as a person, Alan White really brings what Bruce Springsteen is known for, which is really that relatability. He seems like a guy who is trying his best to get through the hurdles in which he faces himself in with regards to the childhood that he had to endure as a kid with his parents, mainly his father. And I think Alan White really just slips into that role with ease and not feeling like this was a huge struggle, although I'm sure this was a daunting task for him to do. But still, it felt like he was just comfortable enough to just slip on in there and he had to do like an impersonation, because it doesn't feel like an impersonation. It felt like he was actually playing the boss himself. Jeremy Strong is supportive and caring as John Lauder, Springsteen's manager. Strong keeps up with what the somber tone is asking for, what this movie is pretty much consistent of in its tone, and he continues that. He carries along with what Alan White brings, and he manages to bring along his sense of understanding and trying to be as respectful as he can to Bruce in this dark part in his life. And Jeremy Strong was able to convey John as somebody who was very much supportive and wanting to help Bruce in his talent as a musician, but also finding his voice. And I think he goes along with what the film has to offer, and he has always been a terrific actor, so for him to just always still deliver is amazing. Both White and Strong work really well together as they both find the rhythm with one another. In the scenes that they are in, they are fantastic. They play off of each other as if they understand what this project is and how it is supposed to be. They are easily the best part of the movie. Just seeing these two just play off of each other as friends and understanding how Bruce is trying to just find himself, and for John to just be there and to encourage him, but also still give him the push that he kind of needs to just do what he wants to feel with regards to making the Nebraska album. The direction is grounded. Director Scott Cooper strips back the huge and glamorous look for a more personal view of someone struggling through depression and haunted by his upbringing. Most biopics tend to a lot of the times just feel as if it needs to just kind of gloss over all the nitty gritty parts and feel as if it needs to cover everything about a person's life in a short amount of time. This movie was able to just showcase a moment in Bruce's life prior to his stardom. And the fact that Cooper was wanting to deliver it in a way that felt quiet and not as noisy, it felt as if this was a real personal story that Bruce wanted to be discussed about and to showcase how much that he is somebody that just was trying his best and feeling like he was never going to be good enough for people. But people know that he is a talented guy. He is somebody that everyone can enjoy. It's just more so just what he feels is right and what he feels as an artist he wants to put out for people. And Cooper was respectful in showcasing the battle that he was dealing with and also just his family life and what his father and his relationship with him was. I think that was done very well. Cinematography is beautiful. Cinematographer Masanobu Takayanagi captures a stunning and grounded look at Springsteen's journey to find himself, making the setting of New Jersey feel gorgeous. How this movie looks in showcasing New Jersey is incredible. It's beautiful. It doesn't feel as if it is very shiny. It feels rough around the edges. It feels as if it is just capturing the moment as it's happening, and it really does feel like a personal story because it feels more grounded in that way. It doesn't feel like it has to be this big, expensive looking movie. It just feels as if how you would want to showcase a person's story in the moment and not feel like you're just kind of observing what the past was. This feels as if you are in that moment, you are in the period in which Bruce was going through and what he wanted to put out for his fans and for the world to hopefully understand and just take in. And Takayangi was able to showcase New Jersey in a gorgeous way, but also showcasing Bruce's struggle in a very powerful way. The story is effective. Seeing Springsteen creating an album that speaks to his struggle and perception of his childhood was amazing, letting it speak volume to who he is as a person. Because we all have gone through a lot with regards to our daily lives, what has really affected us, how it has percepted our way of living. And as somebody who battles with depression as well, I found this movie to be very uplifting, or rather just really inspiring, because it just goes to show that even for a guy like Springsteen, for as much as he seems larger than life, he really conveys himself as just a normal person. He doesn't try to be as flashy or put on this persona for people. He feels natural in the moments in which people try to talk to him and his interactions with one another. And I really respect the fact that this movie does try to address what depression is like and how that may affect a person, how they see the world, and also to how childhood trauma can also lead to things being rekindled and hopefully managing to move past those issues. The production is stellar. Taking place in the 80s, it feels subtle on showing the era. From its sets, props, costumes, and crew work, everything works. Nothing about this movie feels as if it is artificially put in here to make it just seem like it is the 80s. It feels natural. It feels as if, yes, this is the 80s, but it is not so on the nose where it tries to paint itself out to be like, well, this is how it looks. No, it feels natural. It feels so, it feels not as big or as glamorous as it is. It feels right for how this movie should approach it and how it should come off feeling. The music is amazing. Using Springsteen's catalog of songs that were prominent at the time, I think, was a good use, giving fans and newcomers an appreciation to his music. So for fans, of course, they are always going to love the songs that are probably going to be in here, but for newcomers, I'm sure that they are also going to find enjoyment in which Bruce Springsteen goes about showcasing, or at the very least describing, how he approaches songwriting and how he wants things to feel, how it wants to flow. And I think for this movie to utilize some of the songs that, of course, not are on the Nebraska album, they are from some of his other albums, I think is pretty cool. And I do appreciate how this movie is able to display the songs and not in a way that it's just, oh, we got to play the song because it's a Bruce Springsteen song. It fits the mood and tone of what the scene calls for. The writing is solid. Scott Cooper manages to focus on the moment to moments with good banter between one another, making it feel genuine. There's never a moment in this movie where the conversations feel off or it doesn't feel right. It felt how the moments should feel, and Cooper was able to write a script that the actors were able to punch up in their performances and able to make the film more effective in the way in which they go about it. Enjoyable, but one that still stumbles in a few areas, and things that I didn't notice that made me take note of the issues with it. Here are now my negatives. The love subplot is forced. Having Springsteen have a love interest felt added on and could have added more than I think the movie was trying to go for. And as much as I understand that it is supposed to show Springsteen's way of trying to come out of his shell in terms of who and what he has faced in the past, I feel like having the movie add a love interest felt forcing that part out of it rather than feeling like it was just natural. They wanted to make a character have that relationship with Bruce to kind of showcase that rather than either actually adding something substantial to the movie or finding a different way, because it just sticks out like a sore thumb compared to the rest of the movie, because it just seems like the rest of the movie is about the trauma and the struggle. And while I understand that maybe he's had a lot of significant others during this period where he did try to open up, I just feel as if there wasn't a lot of care that was put into this moment, and it just seemed like they just added it in there because they needed a love interest. The pacing and runtime is stretched out. Scenes would go on a bit longer as they should. With a runtime of 1 hour and 59 minutes, it should have been trimmed down, I think, just a bit. I don't think this movie needed to be almost 2 hours. I think this movie could have gotten away with probably like an hour 40, hour 45, maybe 50, but really I don't think it needed to be close to 2 hours, because by the time the movie gets closer to the end, it just seems like everything's being stretched out and everything's just kind of being stretched to where it needs to hit that 2 hour mark, when really I don't think it needed to. I think there could have been a way to not have that. The editing is inconsistent. Sometimes it could be slow, and then other times all over the place in terms of how it wants to kind of come off feeling. It doesn't have concrete style and tone of the way in which cuts are put together. It just seems it will sometimes be very slow at it, and then other times it'll be spontaneous. Just doesn't feel like everything was all coalesced in that category. Cooper was able to showcase Springsteen's struggle and turmoil that haunted him. From strong performances of White and Strong to its rough and somber approach, it's enjoyable. It may not change the music biopic, but it's a good one at the very least. If you want something that can showcase what makes Bruce Springsteen who he is and how he goes about songwriting, this movie I think will give you that. If you are looking for something that will actually really change the way musical biopics are, you might as well either stop or keep on looking for a different one, because this movie ain't gonna do that. But hey, I'll give it credit. It didn't annoy me or frustrate me in ways in which it could have, but thankfully they didn't happen and they were able to still keep me entertained by the end. I'm gonna give Springsteen Deliver Me From Nowhere a 7 out of 10. It's an enjoyable watch. If you want just something that can really showcase a musician going through the struggles of depression and his trauma, this movie can do that. Maybe if you are a Bruce Springsteen fan, you're just going to love this movie regardless. But if you are really looking for something that is truly, hopefully, going to change the musical biopic genre, this ain't going to work for you. But I can guarantee you this: if you want something to enjoy, this movie can deliver that for you. So I will be soon doing a review for Begonia. So yes, look forward to that review and other reviews coming soon.